I've never seen a yacht like this in my dreams. Sailing the seas in boats so grand, it seems. But we're just humble sailors, salt upon our cheeks, gold classic every day of the week.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Boat Fool Sailing. Thanks for tuning in last week and thanks for watching this week. So I am really excited about today's episode. We're going to go visit my friend Gordon, who I met last summer, and check out his 1959 Samurai Sloop. It's not for sale, but it's unique enough that we have to go check it out because I think it helps illustrate that sailing is not a one-size-fits-all operation, right? There are so many different models, makes, designs, and materials that who knows what's going to, excite you and who knows what you're going to fall in love with. It's a very individual process. And I think this boat's also going to illustrate that you don't have to spend a fortune to get out on the ocean and have an amazing time. You do not need to spend $50,000, $100,000, $150,000, and you should never believe that buying a boat for less than $50,000 is going to be a dumpster fire of a situation. There are so many great boats out there that have years of sailing adventuring left in them. So let's go check it out. But before we go, I want to give a shout out to our newest patron, Mark. Thank you for believing in our programming and thank you for supporting us. You can find us on Patreon, and we hope that we can convince more of you to help support our programming because we have a lot of really great stuff coming up. All right, let's go have some fun. All right, so we are down in Bremen, Maine at Gordon's house, and Gordon's going to show us a really unique boat. So we're meeting him at what he calls his snow globe shed. I think I see him in there.
Hey,
hey Gordon, how are you?
Good.
Hey.
It's
oh my.
Perfect day for yard sailing.
Yeah, it's not bad, right? It's almost 40 degrees out.
The other day it was snowing. And,
it was.
Man, it was awesome.
And you call this the snow globe, right?
Yeah, it's like a snow globe when it's snowing.
This is so cool.
Yeah.
Wabi Sabi, love the name.
Yeah.
Is it because of the green? And
Wabi Sabi is a Japanese expression that means perfect in itself, but yet perhaps maybe cracked up and old, but just in its own self. And I've talked to Japanese people, and they say it's kind of a hard thing to explain. So maybe it goes deeper than that.
I love that. I did not realize it was an actual saying.
When I got the boat, it was built in Japan.
Okay.
And I toyed with a whole bunch of names for it, and I was listening to the radio, and this song came on called "It's a Wabi Sabi World." And I says, yeah, that's perfect. That's what I'll name my boat. And so I named my boat the Wabi Sabi, and my brother retired, and he was hanging around doing nothing, and he started building nutshell dinghies.
Yeah.
And so he called me up one day, and he says, hey, Gordon, when are you going to come down and get your dinghy? And he built this for me.
Wow.
And
what does that mean?
Dinghy is dinghy in Japanese.
That's amazing. All right, well played. So the Wabi Sabi, so in Japan, so what are we looking at here? What kind of boat is this?
Oh, this is it's called a Samurai Sloop.
Okay.
And it was designed and by Elders McGuinness.
Okay.
And I think he designed them in the early 1950s.
Yep.
And after the Second World War, there was two or three fellows from Boston that had a lot of business connections in Japan still. Yep. And so they went over to Japan and they found this boatyard just laying idle. And they started building these things.
Is that International Marine?
Yes.
Yep.
And they would import them into the United States and then take them to Cape Cod and fit them out.
Finish the work on it. Okay.
Get everything set.
Let's go take a look because I'm dying to see this boat. Yeah. Let's go in and lead the way, and let's go up top first and take a look up top, and then we'll take a look around the boat. All right, so we are up on the Samurai 28, and Gordon, how long have you owned this boat?
Boy, how many years has it been since 2004?
It's been 19 years.
19 years.
That's a good relationship.
Yeah, it is.
That's longer than most marriages. This is beautiful. Look at this tiller. Man. Yeah. And so I'm standing off the fantail here on a platform looking at the boat. This is neat. I kind of wish it was snowing, so it would be like a snow globe.
Yeah, it would be, but this is good. The sun comes up and it warms up quite nice.
Yeah, this is pretty. All right, I'm going to come aboard. All right, so now we are looking back toward the tiller and the transom and looking at this really beautiful cockpit and nice high combing boards here, obviously. This is really cool. And then I noticed this immediately, and I thought of the Alden boat that we profiled, the 1937 Alden 39, but it is not a compass in there.
So the engineer can see what the hell's going on.
Yeah, that's kind of slick.
Mice, you know?
Right. And then we are looking into the engine compartment, and that is a universal diesel. How many horsepower is that thing? Looks big.
17 horsepower.
17 horsepower.
Yeah, it pushes me along 5.5, 6, easy.
Oh wow, nice.
And probably uses maybe a third of a gallon, a fuel an hour, something like that.
Not bad.
I have pretty good capacity.
Yeah.
You can see in the details. You see the framing in there. You see those diagonal planking. It's a double hulled boat, and you can see the seam.
Oh yeah.
On the diagonal. So the whole skin of this boat is all diagonal, and then it was, after that work was done, there was white lead and muslin laid onto that diagonal planking, and then she was carvel planked over that.
Wow.
So it has 2 layers, and so there's no common seam. You know, like in a boat that just have carvel planking, you have a long seam. It's just like that.
Yep.
So this thing has.
And is that to prevent leaking and structural integrity and
it
all
was
the
like,
above?
I think towards the end of when a lot of these production wooden boats were built, they started to go to that.
Yeah.
They did double planking because it gave everybody a sense of security.
Yeah.
Plus, it's incredibly strong. I don't know.
Does it give you a sense of security?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, I would think it would. I mean,
pretty much.
You know, so that Alden was what was that, mahogany? Just planking.
Well, she wasn't double planked.
No. It seems just so solid.
It is solid.
Everything about this seems overbuilt, not in an ugly way at all, but it just seems solid and beautiful.
Yeah, I know everything's heavy. Look at the fittings and the stanchion rails. I mean, for
everything
a much
about
bigger boat, really.
Yeah,
and look at the quarter, the quarter chocks.
Yeah. It's just it's incredible.
I mean, that's probably that must be a custom fitting. They must.
It looks it.
And I do all of my, when I'm trimming my jib and stuff, I always run it through my return block to my winch.
Up to the primaries.
And the pressure on that is just, you know, that line has got thousands and thousands of pounds on pressure. And here's this block that's been sitting there for, you know, how much, 50, 60. This boat could almost get Social Security now, I think.
Well, wait, was this 1959?
Yeah.
Yeah. You're right there, right?
Yeah.
So she's exactly 10 years older than I am. Yeah. I was born in 69.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So.
And I was born in 51. So.
Well, you don't have to put that. You don't have to put that out to the world.
This is my creation.
Yeah.
You know,
nice little bench seat to raise you up a little bit.
What happens is that when you're sailing, okay, it's a nice summer day.
Yeah.
And you're just kind of going along. I can't see a friggin' thing.
Yeah.
And so I'd always get myself perched up on this thing.
Yeah.
And this
seems a little precarious, so you can still be down in there with your. Look at that.
Here we go. Now we are yard sailing.
Yeah, we're definitely yard sailing.
I'm gonna do a tack now. Can you get that jib?
Yes, I'm prepared to come about.
All right, ready about. But the way this is here, you know, you have the boomkin to lean against.
Yeah.
And then you're up high enough you can see what's going on here.
Yeah.
And then when you're hanging around in the harbor with your sweetheart, you can
put your cocktail.
You have a little candle there and a couple plates.
Candle, that's romantic.
Yeah, it is.
All right, that seems dangerous to me. having flame on a boat, at least my boat. But no, this is really, really, really beautiful, and I love your companionway doors here. What was this, louvered or?
It's louvered.
It is louvered, yeah. That's beautiful. And all this hardware looks original.
This is all original equipment.
Yeah. Okay, so now we just came down the companionway, which is, you know, 4 steps, really 3 steps down in, nice and easy. And the first thing I'm noticing is, Gordon, how tall are you?
I am 5'10".
5'10", and I am 6'1", and this headroom down here is off the charts. It's got to be 6'5".
Yeah.
Easy.
I have a friend that's really tall, and he can walk through here. This used to extend down just a little bit, and I would run forward and crack into that.
Yeah.
And knock my brains out.
So it does get lower as we get closer.
No, it does.
Yeah.
But I mean, there was a piece of wood here that was low, and I chopped it down because
you kept beating yourself.
Clear this, and then the next thing I knew, I'd be slamming into.
You thought you were home free, and then you just.
It's funny how things go, but. When I first saw this boat in Uncle Henry's, it was.
Oh, it was in Uncle Henry's.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I saw the description of the boat and everything, and I was really, I said, man, I got to go check this out. And it was up in Lisbon Falls. Yeah. And I went aboard the boat, and when I first saw this coach roof, with these big windows, I was like, man, I like a straight coach roof with no bump up. I like it like nice and low. Yeah. But since I've had this, like you're in any harbor in the world and stuff, and there's the world outside your window.
It's nice.
There's the world outside your window. And you see these people in the bigger boats. Yeah. And frankly, I kind of feel sorry for them because they go down below and they have to jump up to see what's going on in the harbor.
Or they're looking out through their porpoise peeper windows right by the water line and seeing nothing, right? Yeah. So, all right, so you've got a nice little galley over here. Is it a pressurized water system?
Nope.
No, foot pump?
We got a foot pump over here. And then we have there's a saltwater pump too. Yeah.
I really like this. It just feels, you can feel the antiquity of it. And is it okay to open up your head?
Yep.
Never know what surprise. Oh, there's your airhead.
Yeah. Now look how much room is in there. And the other thing is you're sitting fore and aft, so you don't get kicked around if the boat starts to heel.
Yep. You are nice and secure in here.
I call it my scream room. When it gets really wild, I'll just go down there and shut the door, and I'll be all set.
That's really nice. And
I got books to read.
Yeah, I see that. You've got your whole library in here. So obviously, Gordon spends a lot of time in his head. I love the construction of this. And so this is kerosene. Does that kick off a good amount of heat?
It's okay. It makes a lot of noise. It goes.
Oh, it does. Okay.
Yeah, but I only use it a couple of times in a season.
Yeah, it's not really
right.
Ideal for August.
But look at the woodwork in that corner of the cabin.
I know.
I mean, it's just like, who does
curved.
that?
Nobody.
Huh?
Nobody.
Yeah.
Not anymore, anyway.
Yeah.
That's really, really pretty.
You know, and all this is none of this has been changed. At one time, this head wasn't here, and the head was up forward. But
I don't want to push that too hard. Oh, there it goes. Yeah. So this would fill in with the filler piece, obviously, and the sole floor looks beautiful, and so you can look right down into the bilge.
Yeah, these of course these all open up.
Yeah.
But it's funny. I was boarded by the Coast Guard, and the first thing they do is jump down your bilge, and I think what they're looking for is oil.
Oh, right. Yeah. Illegal overboard discharge of spilled oil. Wow.
Yeah.
That's a clean bilge. Are there weep holes that go between?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. There's all weep holes that go between.
Yeah. And how far have you sailed this boat?
I've been up to Canada with it. I sailed up to. I've done a couple of big long trips where I went up the coast of Maine and just kind of poked along, and then went up to Graham and Ann.
Oh wow!
It's a great landfall, Graham and Ann.
I would love to go up there.
And it's such an impressive island.
Yeah.
You sail around the head of it, and there's a nice harbor there. And boy, everybody's friendly. You can't walk 10 feet before someone will say, "Hey, where are you going?"
I want to go up there. I want to take a grand adventure this summer. Yeah. Well, this is just such a cool boat. What is this? Is this something that folds out as like a dinette table or something?
I'll show you how that works. I've got a couple of pins that go into through this hole and this hole.
Oh, okay.
And this is clever. This boat was owned by a fellow on Westport Island for a number of years named Ken Texter. And he's responsible for a lot of this really cool stuff.
Look at that.
Yeah.
That's slick.
Yeah.
And so to have a support post
it has just a post and a post. It's simple. It's easy to set up.
Yeah.
And if you have to go use something up forward, that's enough.
You can sneak by.
Yeah.
So some of you watching may be wondering where Gordon does his navigating, and he's going to show us a slick little, I don't know, well, just show us, because I don't want to spoil it for anybody.
Well, this was my original chart table here.
Okay.
But everybody wanted, you're in the middle of a you know, of a tricky navigation, and you say, "Oh God, look at there's still beer in there."
Yeah, I was just gonna say, hey, this is your man cave for sure. You just come out here and have a beer. All right, well,
Anyway,
there's the ice chest, so we
but
figured that out.
this became an awkward place to navigate from.
Well, because it's conflicting interests of trying to get a beer and navigate at the same
And so
time.
then we became afflicted with COVID, and everybody said go home. So
Yeah.
I went home and fiddled with my boat for a month and a half.
Who wouldn't?
Man, it was fun.
Yeah, I
So
bet.
anyway,
Is that the Dirigo tree?
that is a friend of mine. We were redoing a house down in South Bristol, and he made this little pattern to put on the shingle work at the peak.
Oh, neat.
And I was going to do an anchor, but then I came across this thing. And I said, it'd be nice to have a little bit of land aboard a boat.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Well, and it's made out of wood too. So
when you're cooking, you have
cook station.
You have this to do all your cooking.
Nice.
And whatever, and it's pretty good. And then when you're done cooking, you can slide it back and put your cushions, and you can sit and eat your.
Yep.
Everything has to have 3 or 4 purposes on a boat.
Of course.
Like. So then before I go head out for the day, everything's put away and you're ready to go. So I've been doing this, and God, I've been really enjoying doing chart work instead of relying on my chart plotter.
So you're rocking it old school a little bit.
Yeah, and I mean, I use my chart plotter. I hardly leave a mooring without it on.
Yeah.
But it's something about getting all set up.
Having a system.
Yeah.
Well, look at that. So, not to put you on the spot, but what is your most favorite thing about this boat? Obviously, you love it.
I think the best thing about this is the way the cockpit and the cabin's set up.
Okay.
I really wish it had a bridge deck when you're heeling over 40 degrees.
Yeah.
But I do, in fact, have a...
Yeah, there is no bridge deck here.
If it gets wild and stuff, and again, everything is solid, right? Look at this thing, huh?
Yeah.
I mean, this was 1959.
That's crazy. So you can put that in as a bridge deck of sorts.
Bang.
Yep, there it is.
And then when it gets really bad, I do this.
Right up. She buttons right up.
And I take this stuff and I get all hooked up.
Yep. So you got your jack lines on there.
Yeah. It's
Smart.
good because I do a lot of sailing alone, and when I go forward, I just unclip this and clip in. And then I can go up and relieve myself up at the stays. Yeah. Or I can go all the way forward. And this boat has Hank-on sails.
Yep.
So if you want to change from a big jib to a smaller one,
you got to do it old school.
You got to take one off and put the other one on.
Yeah. Have you ever considered putting a roller furling on, or do you just you love the tradition of the Hank-on?
My sailmaker said, Gordon, if you can't go forward to change a jib on your boat, you shouldn't be sailing. And this other fellow that I met this guy, Ken Texter, who used to own this boat. And he says, you ought to take your sailmaker sailing sometime on a windy day and see what he says then.
Right.
A storm sail.
Yeah.
Small little jib.
Yep.
And I can double reef my main.
Yep. So you're all set.
Put that storm sail up. And I have gone just to see what it's like, when it's really, really gusting. You have one of those really gusty days in the fall where it's 25 and 30.
I don't go out on those days.
And it's incredible. You double reef and you put the storm jib up, and you're close hauled as you're headed out to Pemmican Point. Yeah. And the tiller, I have a steering device, but the tiller, you're just going along and you can just, this is what you're doing. And if you want to go do something, the boat just keeps tracking.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
You put a little bigger jib up, and then you have a little more weather helm.
Exactly. And we learned that because being the competent sailors we are, we didn't put our reefing lines in our main this summer.
Yeah,
so I forgot
how to find those when you need them, right?
I know. And then you can't put them in when you need them either.
Yeah.
And so we discovered that we just rolled in the jib a bit, and it stopped the main from flogging. Yeah. It moved the center of effort right back to the mast and took away all the weather helm. It was great. Yeah. So we learned something by not having
your question. In a perfect world, yes, I would put a furler on the top, but it seems like a lot of fiddling around.
No, it's not. All right, so we are up on the bow of the Samurai and looking at Gordon's windlass here, which is manual, and it's classic anchor here, which is the one you primarily use
it is,
in favor of a
Well,
more modern
you
design.
know, if I had a sandy bottom instead of a lot of rocks,
Yeah.
I would use that every time. But
Okay.
I don't. How many times have you anchored on a sandy bottom on the coast of Maine?
Once, maybe.
Yeah. And there's a lot of mud. Mud's good.
Mud's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, ours holds well in mud.
Yeah.
But I can imagine on a rocky bottom,
Yeah.
this would be.
Yeah. No.
How much? How many pounds is that?
That's I think it's 25 pounds.
Wow, this is really pretty. How long does it take you to do all the bright work on this, and how often do you do it?
I do it every year. I do
every year.
2 coats every year.
Okay.
And you know, I go along and clean it up a little bit.
Yeah.
It's a fair bit of bright work, and then
It
of
is.
course the mast and the boom too.
Yeah, of course.
And then the stuff down in the cabin. But it's yeah, I worked at a boatyard for many years as a boat finisher and varnisher. And
so you've got the skill set.
I like it.
I find it cathartic.
I like doing it, you know, and it's like putting on the varnish. It's just getting ready, doing all the sanding,
prep work
getting
is,
it all set. But you don't obsess over things too much. I kind of like the mottled
Yeah.
finish.
Yeah.
I refinished this completely to bare wood, and it looked okay. But I think it's more Wabi Sabi having it like this, less than perfect.
I concur.
Yeah.
I'm going to try to walk back
Yeah,
filming because I want to just look at this. Just everything about this is pretty.
Look at the size of the business for the what do you call that? The block on the
block.
track. Yeah, there's a name for it.
The track.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that
Yeah.
track is
Yeah.
that's some.
I mean, it goes
Whole size
I
track.
know. Look at the size of the screws. I mean, there's a lot of pressures and stuff, but
That's overbuilt.
Yeah.
It's overbuilt
Yeah.
and really fantastic.
I've been on 1 or 2 other samurai sloops through the years.
Yep.
That have been in different states of disrepair, but this has all the fittings on this are a lot heavier than the other ones I've seen. I think this guy had a bit of a charmed life.
This boat.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how many of these samurais were built?
When you go to sailboatdata.com and look
I'm
up
familiar with
samurai
it, yeah.
sloop, they say there's 120.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how many do you reckon are still in service today?
I know of 2 of these on the coast right now.
Okay.
And I got some stuff on this boat that a fellow was having one of these and he was busting it up. So
Yeah.
I got a spare mast and a
Nice.
boom, and I got a set of sails and
Yeah.
stuff like that. And I used those for a number of years.
I don't know if you can answer this question, Gordon, but I have to ask because I have a fiberglass boat. Your buddy Kevin has the
Mhm.
Erickson.
Yep.
Is there something particular about have you always owned wooden boats, and is there something specific about wooden boats that it charms you, or
They must. I've always had wooden boats, but again, it's often because I got them cheap.
yeah,
And I didn't pay very much for this one. I mean, I think I paid around $11,000 for this
back
boat when I
in
bought it.
2004?
Yeah.
So it's a fair amount of money.
Yeah, it was a fair amount of money.
Yeah.
But it was like it's a lot of boat.
Yeah, it is a lot of boat. This feels
Yeah.
much bigger than a 28-foot
You
boat.
know, I
by the
came
way.
in, and when I came to look at the boat, I was with my son, and it was a beautiful day. And we went up through. You never want to look at a boat on a beautiful day because they all look good.
No, you got to look at
And
it at a terrible day.
Yanked this open, and I broke it. And so I said, "Shit."
Now you have to
Now
buy
I
it.
have to buy it. So I shut it and, dogged it down and
Yeah.
everything. And I decided I wasn't going to talk to the guy until I went aboard on a rainy day. So
Yeah.
I drove up and it was raining pretty good, one of those dismal fall
Yeah,
days.
yeah.
Right? And I came aboard and lit the kerosene lantern down below and started looking at stuff. And I said, even on a rainy day, this it didn't smell musty.
Yeah.
It seemed good.
Yeah.
And so I called the guy up and I said, I really like the boat and I'd like to buy it, but
I
said
broke it.
I broke the thing, so I guess I kind of have to buy it now. And he says, I noticed that.
I'm sure he would. I would notice.
But it is funny, what you go through with this and how you decide to do what you do.
So, in terms of owning wood versus fiberglass, do you see a huge difference in the maintenance, or do you think it all sort of comes out in the wash? I mean, fiberglass, if you have a core deck issue, you got to chase that down.
Mhm.
Versus you don't necessarily have that issue, but you might have some dry rot or some. Yeah.
So so most of the work I do on this boat every year is on the deck.
Yeah.
And the varnish work.
Yeah.
And all of that. And one of the reasons why the deck works out is it's plywood covered with fiberglass.
Oh, okay.
This is plywood covered with fiberglass.
All
This
right.
is fiberglass. This is fiberglass.
So it's protected.
And it's all protected.
Yeah.
So I don't have those. At one time there were issues. I saw evidence that a lot of the stern deck got replaced years ago. And but most everything that I've seen, I haven't seen any evidence of any other work that had to be done to stabilize the plywood that's underneath. And of course, it's 1959 plywood.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing how long something will last. But I think fiberglass is a great material. I mean, it makes it, all of these flat surfaces, if it was all just wood, would just be a mess.
So you fell in love with this boat. Was it like beyond going below and having the kerosene stove going? Was it sort of love at first sight? Was there an aha moment, like when you saw this, you're like, this could be the one? Or was it one of those relationships that built over time?
Well, it's funny, when I first got it and got it home, I have that other boat that's up there you saw with the bow stuck in the side of the hill. Well, that was down here, and I had wooden poppets underneath, and I had neglected it for a long time, and she was laid over on her side. So the first thing I did before I brought this boat home was I took a Sawzall and I cut my old cutter up.
Yeah.
And boy, I love that boat, the Oscar. I've got a picture of it down below. I'll show it to you in a minute. But and then I got it here, and it was all set up and everything. And I thought, man, that boat's not big enough. But then, you know, I mean, it's plenty big. It's crazy. I mean, it's what is it about us that we want something that's 2 feet longer?
I don't know, but I've sailed on. You met Ken this summer, Canadian Ken.
Right.
He had a Bristol 27.
Oh, and very similar to this.
But this feels twice as big.
Yeah.
The cockpit and that was too small. The tiller was always in the way. And
I mean, look at the deck. I think that it's true. It's the thing that struck me about this boat was how easy it was to move around.
Yeah.
And then when I looked around down below, I mean, this is, you know, how many years I own this boat?
19 still.
Yeah,
19 I think we're coming on 20.
Ago.
Yeah.
I'm looking around and there's nothing broken down below, and I said, this is all original.
And this is wider than the Bristol, it feels like.
It is. It's 9 foot 4.
9'4". Okay. I think the Bristol's narrower.
And
but
it displaces about 10,000 pounds.
Okay.
So it's a nice heavy
it's a heavy
boat.
displacement boat then. Yeah.
And because of its heft and everything, when you're in a seaway and stuff, the motion is
she's got a nice comfort ratio, as I always.
You know, they say even having that great big heavy wooden mast that goes way up there.
Yeah.
When that wooden mast goes down, because the effort that it takes to bring that back up keeps the boat just.
It doesn't have a quick motion.
Yeah.
It's a slower motion, which would be more pleasant, right?
And I would hate to. I talked to a man that owned this boat.
Yeah.
And he owned it when it was probably 3 or 4 years old.
Yeah.
And he was up off of Mount Desert Island.
Yeah.
And they got between, I think it's Bear Island that comes out of Northeast Harbor there. And they got one of these willy-waws that came out of the hills.
Yeah.
And it laid it flat.
Yeah, I believe it.
It laid it flat. And he broke his, they had a little boomkin on the back at that time. And he broke the boomkin. Yeah. And there was some other damage that was done. And they just went right over to Hinckley's and pulled it in there. And they reinforced the mast step. Yeah. And they put the other boomkin on, and he was good to go. But he said it was just laying right flat in the ocean.
I bet it.
I can't.
Those willy walls are wicked out of there.
I would hate to do that.
Yeah, I would too. That would be a life affirming moment, right? You like, suddenly feel very alive. So it is a deck step mast, right?
It is a deck step mast. Yep.
Yep. Well, let's go down and take a look at the hull, because this has been such a treat. What a cool, beautiful boat. All right, so we are back down on the ground, and we're going to take a little tour around the boat. But it's just what a neat boat. So I mean, just this curved piece of wood on the back, trailing edge of the rudder, and your stern post there, just the way that's carved for the prop. Yeah, that's substantial.
It is. And it's pretty much original too, you know, so things stand the test of time.
Yeah. And so it's an iron keel.
Yep.
And you know, how does she sail? Does she point reasonably well, or is it?
Yeah, it's a pretty good. It has a pretty. It's I'll tell you, its best point of sail is just off the wind.
Yep.
I go the best.
Yep.
And before I had this boat, I had a gaff rig boat. And I'm telling you, with a gaff rig boat, when you go on a beam reach,
you go.
Whew, it's just nothing like it in the world. It just has this sail that goes out, and it's kind of disappointing because when I get on a beam reach, I don't just charge along.
Yeah.
And so I kind of like it when I've got to beat a little bit because you go.
She
Part
likes
of
it-
it's the wind in your face, I think.
Yeah.
But she does point really well. And
I love the color schematic on the boat.
yeah, isn't that nice?
It is very nice.
Yeah.
It's very pretty.
Yeah. And it's the way this is built. It doesn't have any caulking in between the planks. It's a tight seam,
Okay.
and so it's just wood on wood.
So does it?
There's caulking here, just
Below the water line.
Below the water line, but above there's no evidence of any caulking at all.
And does it, when you first put it in the water, does it take a while for it to swell up?
It takes a week.
It takes a week.
Yeah.
And so is your bilge just running constantly?
No, it runs hard for 45 minutes, an hour and a half.
Yeah.
And then it settles right down. And then by the end of the week, you're pretty well fully swelled up.
Yeah.
And you're good to go.
Really, really pretty boat.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been fun to have. So
I love it. And so, and then down here we've got your mast, which is hollow.
Yeah.
Is there a term for that? Box? Is it box?
I think they just call it a hollow spar.
Hollow spar,
Yeah, I
okay.
guess a box mast would be.
okay.
Yeah, that would be true.
And
But again, not to
that's
go,
original to the boat,
it
right?
it's original. So it goes
Jeez.
back to the, you see the long scarf joint here. It has a little bit of a hook to it. I can't see that it really bothers anything. It always seems
A
to
hook
hook.
to port or
In other words,
starboard or
Well,
fore
it
or
would be
aft?
nice. It kind of goes both ways. It's more of
Okay.
a in and then back.
Oh, sort of an S curve.
Yeah. So I get everything tuned up just right, and then
Yeah.
I just don't look at it again.
Yeah, don't look.
And at the end of the season, I look at the mast and I say, But that's the thing. There's
Only
always
you
one
would
more
notice
thing.
that, right?
Yeah.
Only you would
Yeah.
notice that. But just look at the
Yeah.
craftsmanship
Yeah.
of all this. It's
I know. The hood of it and stuff. I can't even imagine taking
It's exquisite.
stuff like this all apart. I mean, that pulley that's in there, and then that's all. Of course, this is all through bolted. And
And
I
you
think
still have
it's,
wooden blocks. It's funny. We have a couple of wooden cleats on the boat, and
Yep.
on our boat, and people
Mhm.
freak out. I'm like, it worked for 40 years, 43 years.
Yes.
It's fine.
Yes.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, Gordon, you really have a beautiful, beautiful boat here, and obviously you're pretty proud of her. And I really hope to go out for a sail on her this coming summer.
Yeah, it'd be nice.
Because
We can-
I can't remember the last time I sailed on an all wooden boat. I think it was when I was a kid when John used to charter
Really?
a wooden boat before we moved up to a tartan and then eventually moon dance. But
Yeah.
I would love to go out on this
Yeah.
and feel that sensation because we were discussing earlier about that feeling. Like there's
Right.
got to be a special feeling about
Yeah.
being on a wooden boat at sea and feeling that antiquity moving with the wind on the ocean. I bet it's pretty special.
It becomes alive, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And those wonderful fiberglass boats come alive too.
They all do. They all do. They all come alive for sure. But I bet there's just something special because
Yeah.
obviously you're addicted to it, and it's great to know that these old wooden boats are still out there plying the seas. I think it's just so stinking cool.
Yeah, it is. It's good. It's nice it's a privilege to have a thing like this.
Yeah.
And just take care of it and stuff like that.
And that's part of the romance of it too,
Yeah.
right? Is taking care of it
Right.
and having those moments with the boat and getting to know your boat and having that relationship. I think it's really special. And you can have that with a fiberglass boat. Don't get me wrong, but I think a wooden boat is really something unique.
Yeah. I look at other boats, sometimes.
You don't tell this boat
And
that you're looking at other boats.
I go down below and I look around and says, man, this is a nice boat. And I look around a little more. And then I come back and I come aboard this thing and I says, man, you're a prettier girl than that one I looked at. And I said, I'm sorry, baby, but I'm going to have to buy you something now. So I buy another thing for my boat.
Right. And well,
it's good advice in human relationships too.
It's the right thing to do. It's the right thing to do. Well, thank you very much for your time, Gordon. This has been a real treat.
Yeah, I've enjoyed this.
And thank you, everybody, for tuning in. And we'll see you on the water this summer.
Yes, we will.
All right. Thank you, Gordon.
All right. Bye.
Like luxury, Peggy, caviar, and catering. Sea legs get tired just from walking across the damn thing. We don't care. Catamaran goes anywhere. Boat full sailing in our modest vessels. Waves we